Prime Minister Boris Johnson's hinted that Scotland will be well placed to benefit from investment in new green technology. Speaking to a political correspondent at Westminster, David Porter, he said that the Acorn carbon capture project in Aberdeenshire is very much on the UK government's radar.
We're looking at all sorts of carbon capture and storage projects. The Acorn project is one of them. There's a big opportunity for CCUS, for carbon capture and storage in this country, and we're investing in it. I think probably commercial confidentiality forbids me from going into details.
The Scottish Conservative leader Douglas Ross has also suggested there may be some positive news for Acorn.
I would listen out to the spending review that's coming up in a few weeks' time. There are ongoing discussions. I know the Scottish Secretary, I discussed this with him very recently, is continuing to make those views known around the Cabinet table, and I would expect to hear more of that in the days and weeks ahead.
Is that a hint that there is good news for the Acorn project?
It's a hint that there is ongoing dialogue within the government at the highest levels, within the UK government at the highest levels.
Well, let's speak to David Porter, who is at the Conservative Party conference in Manchester. Morning to you, David. And for those who are unfamiliar, what exactly is this carbon capture technology that we're talking about?
Yes, Gary, this is a jargon-laden subject, but very simply, when you produce things, you produce byproducts or waste products. So say you're burning gas or oil to make electricity, well, then you get carbon. Likewise, with sort of things like cement production, you get a lot of byproducts, a lot of waste products. We've all seen those chimney stacks and stuff coming out of them into the environment. The whole idea of carbon capture is that you grab hold of those waste products before they go into the atmosphere, and then you find a place for them to go. Now, the North Sea, which provided us with oil and gas over the last few decades, has got lots of sort of used up reservoirs of oil and gas, basically spaces under the North Sea, and the idea is that you grab this carbon, you pump it in the pipes that used to bring oil and gas to the mainland, and you put it in these reservoirs under the North Sea. So basically you're capturing it and then you're storing it, and that, they say, will reduce CO2 emissions and will help the environment.
Controversial, though, amongst environmentalists.
Yes, it is. Proponents of carbon capture say this scheme can basically capture about 90% of CO2. Environmentalists say, yeah, that is all well and good. It is better than what is happening at the moment. But it still means that you're burning fossil fuels. You're still using those fossil fuels. Environmentalists say that this can only be an intermediate technology. What you need in the long term is totally green energy production. So you have energy production, wave power, wind power, solar power, which is not actually impacting on the environment.
We're talking about the Prime Minister hinting at Scotland being well placed to benefit from this investment. It sounded fairly explicit from both of those clips that we just played there. But Humberside in the northeast of England was thought to be the likely winner in the bid for this government scheme, wasn't it?
Yes, it is. There is a pilot project, and at least one of them is going to go ahead. And you're right. There is a battle royal going on within government at the moment. A few weeks ago, it was thought that Humberside was a shoe-in for this because, again, it has North Sea oil and gas fields which you could pump this stuff into. It also has the industry there, and you have the red wall seats in the north of England. Against that, those who are fighting for Scotland are saying, well, we're coming up to COP26 within a few weeks' time. It wouldn't look very good if you're holding a big environmental conference in Glasgow and you have subbed Scotland in this. There is no guarantee, Gary, that Scotland is going to get it, but you talk to people and the direction of travel perhaps is that Scotland is in a better place than it was a few weeks ago.
And when is the announcement due, David?
I would expect it in the next 3 weeks or so. You heard Douglas Ross there talking about the spending review. That comes in the last week of October, before COP26 begins. I think probably for political reasons the UK government would want to get it out within the next 2 or 3 weeks or so.
And we've got the Scottish Secretary, Alistair Jack, speaking at the Tory party conference today. Any idea of what he's likely to say?
Yeah, he's going to be taking part in a question and answer session, and it is going to function on how Scotland connects to the rest of the Union. There is a big piece of work which has been done, the Peter Hendy review, looking at connectivity throughout the United Kingdom. That is now sitting on the Prime Minister's desk. The report has been completed. We've heard an awful lot about sort of tunnels between Northern Ireland and Scotland. That is not going to happen. That is just too expensive. But there are many projects in which they think you could improve connections between England and Scotland and other parts of the UK. One that ministers always talk about is the A75 in southwest Scotland between Cairnryan and Dumfries. At one level, you can look at that as a local road which just links people in southwest Scotland. It is part, as far as the UK government are concerned, of a far bigger trunk programme, basically linking Belfast to places like Glasgow and Manchester. It'll be very interesting today to see whether the Scottish Secretary gives any hints as to any favoured infrastructure projects.
OK, David, thank you very much. We'll hear more from you later in the day. David Porter in Manchester.